So, whether you're grieving or not, I'm sure you've heard of something they call the five stages of grief. I wanted to briefly talk about this, what it means, and how it could affect your grieving process. So, the five stages of grief was first introduced by the Swiss American psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler Ross in her 1969 book called On Death and Dying, which was inspired by her work with terminally ill patients. So the author Elizabeth was just frustrated with a lack of knowledge and information about the dying process and did her own research by helping these patients. And her research basically came up with these five stages, this five-stage model that really showcased the common feelings when it came to her dying patients. And she also addressed them to grieving family members and friends who also seemed to feel these things and go through these stages. And it sort of became a worldwide model of grief. And there are numbered stages, but it's important to know that these stages can happen in any order and they can go back and forth when you're grieving. The first stage is denial, and this is when a dying person or a grieving person will deny what's happening because their brain doesn't want to accept it, their heart doesn't want to accept it, and they will look for mistakes, come up with ways to feel false hope and not accept the dying process. So they'll come up with maybe rational or irrational or very rare instances that could make dying not a real possibility. The second stage is anger, and this is when a dying or grieving person gets angry and they can take their anger out on the wrong people, to a person unrelated or a situation, and as a way to cope with the dying process. The third stage is bargaining, and what that means is a person's looking for hope and a way to avoid the dying process. They're looking for a cause that they can change. The person is trying to come up with a reason for what's happening and maybe a way out. And that if they change something, that it will change the outcome of the dying process, or it will, make it not real. The fourth stage is depression, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's when a person becomes very depressed over the dying process, the situation, and just secludes themselves and just lets sadness and hopelessness consume them. And then the final stage, the fifth stage, is acceptance. And that's basically when you say, okay, I accept this stuff is happening, I accept this is life changing, and I accept that I need to live this new life.